My second story is about the dog and the cat. It's also in Korea, we are very friendly with our pets. So it's about the dog and the cat who helped their master. So the second story's title is The Dog and the Cat. In a small riverside village, there lived an old tavern keeper. He lived all alone with a dog and a cat that never left his side. The dog guarded the door to the house, and the cat kept the storeroom free of rats. People would come from beyond the other side of the village to drink his wine, and travelers often asked for a jug to bring with them on their journey. There was something strange about his wine, though. No matter how much he sold, he never seemed to run out. His neighbors were quite curious about this, for they never saw any wine delivered to the tavern, and they knew that he didn't make any himself. It was a secret that he shared only with his dog and cat. He had not always been a tavern keeper. Many years ago he worked as a ferryman, ferrying people back and forth across a river that flowed alongside what later became his tavern. Just as he arrived at the door of his house, one cold rainy night, he heard an old man speaking to him. "Please, sir, could you share a bowl of wine? It would help take the chill out of these old bones of mine," he said. "Come in," said he. "My wine jug is almost empty, but you're welcome to what's left." He emptied his jug into a bowl. But the stranger poured some of them was in the bowl back into the jug, and then drank all that he could. "You have been most kind," said the stranger. Then he got to his feet. "Please take this as a token of my appreciation," he said, handing him a piece of amber. Keep it in your wine jug, and it will never get dry." He turned the amber over and over in his hands for a while, and then, with a laugh, dropped it into his wine jug. He thought he would have to pick it out when he filled the jug the next day. Not much later he got thirsty. There must be at least a drop, he told himself, picking up the jug. What a surprise he got when he found his jug was full. He poured a small bowl and drank sip. It was the sweetest, richest wine he had ever tasted. He drank the whole bowl and promptly poured another, but the jug stayed full no matter how often he checked. He was overjoyed. "How wonderful! Now I can open a tavern. No more ferrying back and forth across the river for this old man." He did open his tavern, and that is how it all came about. People came from all over to taste his wine. One day he picked up his jug to serve a traveler. He discovered that it was completely empty. He shook it furiously, but it didn't make any sound. He was dumbfounded. It must have come out while I was pouring someone wine. My goodness, what shall I do? The dog and the cat noticed his sadness and desperately sniffed around the shop to find the ember. I am sure I could find it if I could only pick up the scent. The cat talked to the dog. The dog was thinking hard too. Let's go through every house in the neighborhood. We have to find it, he said. So they began their search, determined to find the lost ember for their master. It wasn't easy, and at times their search was even quite dangerous. When the water frozen, they crossed the river to sniff through the houses on the other side. All winter long they crossed back and forth across the river to find the ember. Together they searched and sniffed every corner of every house and shopped for miles around. One day, when the river was beginning to thaw, the cat caught the scent of the ember in a box atop a large chest. But the cat and the dog didn't know what to do. If the cat pushed it off the chest, someone would hear them, and the box was too big for the dog to carry in his mouth. Let's ask the rats to help us, suggested the dog. They could gag a hole in the box and get the ember out for us. But do you really expect them to help us? The cat asked. It sounds like a far-fetched idea, but we could promise not to bother them for 10 years, said the dog. Surprisingly, the rats consented. They welcomed the chance to live free for the fears of dogs and cats. It took for a small rat to get inside. It took several days for them to nail a hole large enough for the small rat to get inside the box and carry out the ember. The dog and the cat thanked the rats and headed for the river, taking turns carrying the ember in their mouth. "Oh no!" cried the cat when they got to the river's edge. "The ice was melted, but I can't swim." The cat was desperately scared of the water. "Yes, I know. That's the problem," said the dog. "I have an idea," he said after a while. "I will carry you on my back, and you will carry the ember in your mouth." The cat was scared, but there didn't seem to be much choice. He took the ember in his mouth, then climbed onto the dog's back. The dog walked into the water and began swimming. Once floating in the water, he asked, "Are you holding on to that ember tightly?" The cat heard the dog's question, but couldn't answer with the ember in his mouth. A little bit later, the dog asked again, "Do you still have the ember?" The cat wanted to tell the dog not to worry, but didn't want to lose the ember either. "Are you holding on tightly? Have you dropped it? Is it still in your mouth?" the dog asked over and over. But of course the cat could not respond. As they come near to the other side of the river, the dog shouted, "Why don't you answer me? Don't you still have the ember?" The cat was so frustrated it accidentally answered the dog. "Of course, I still have it," it said, and the ember fell into the water. The dog was so angry he shook the cat off his back. Somehow the cat made it to shore, at which point the dog chased him until he finally ran up a tree. The dog returned to the river and swam to the spot where the cat dropped the ember. At the moment he noticed that the scent of the ember smell was coming from a fish caught by fishermen just a little ways downstream. The fisherman never noticed when the dog stole a fish from his catch. Carefully the dog carried the fish home to the master. "That's a good dog," he said when the dog dropped the fish at his feet. "We needed something to eat." When he cut the fish open, he was fainted. "I can't believe it. It's my ember, my ember," he said, jumping for joy. He locked the ember in a chest and went out to buy a jug of wine so he would open his tavern again. But when he returned and opened the chest, he was surprised to find 2 money pouches instead of 1, 2 jackets instead of 1, and 2 combs instead of 1. Everything he had in the chest had doubled. This is how he learned that the secret of the ember was that it doubled everything it touched. After that he became richer than he had ever dreamed possible. He made sure that the dog was well fed, and often wondered what had happened to his other 4-footed companion. As for the dog, he never killed a rat again. Instead, he chased away every cat that crosses his path. The end.